Hello everyone, today we're covering a second special episode focused on Pre-Columbian America, specifically Mesoamerica, with an overview of Central America's rich Pre-Columbian history. So please don't hold it against me if some aspects are left out. I will regularly draw parallels with European history to make everything clearer and more tangible, while also putting it all into perspective. Talented Sissy Sweet created the illustrations for this special edition. Her DeviantArt link is in the description. Most people recognize the Mayas and Aztecs by name, but few know about the Olmecs, or, as some authors say, the Oki. For the sake of clarity, and because the term OK is still debated today, I will stick to the familiar names that have been given to them since their rediscovery. What do we mean by civilization in this episode? Larousse defines the term as encompassing all features of a country's or society's intellectual, artistic, moral, social, and material life. Thus, the Olmec civilization is currently considered the main cultural source of the civilizations of Central America. It is important to note that, on the margins, the prominence of this cultural root is contested by some authors and is the subject of debate. Future discoveries may offer more details than in the debates. In any case, and this is not debated as of today, the Olmecs are the first true Mesoamerican civilization that we have evidence of to this day. Most archaeologists and historians recognize this civilization's major influence on later societies. Equivalent to the influence of ancient Greece on the Latin and Western world, the Olmec civilization is considered today by historians as the root of the Maya, Zapotec, Mixtec, and later Aztec cultures, to name just a few, because there were others. So why have we heard so little about it? Their rediscovery is fairly recent, dating to the late 19th century. Next, the Olmec civilization existed long before the arrival of the Europeans. When the Spanish landed in Central America, little remained identifiable, but archaeology later helped revive them. This also explains why they are so rarely represented in popular culture. The extraordinary Maya culture left many beautiful monuments and cities, which I encourage you to see if you can. From the impressive Chichen Itza to the beautiful port city of Tulum, passing through Mayapan. But enough about tourism. Can we talk about Maya civilization? The answer is yes. Can we talk about a Maya empire? No, and for good reason. The Maya civilization, at its peak, which we call the Classic period, and during its decline, known as the Post-Classic period, it was divided into many city-states, a bit like ancient Greece or even Italy from the Middle Ages to the Renaissance. Tikal and Calakmul were fierce rival cities, each surrounded by allies and vassals. Again, following a model like that of ancient Greece and its rival cities, the rise and fall of the city-states shaped the balance of the Mayan lands, which stretched across 5 of our modern countries: mine, Mexico, Guatemala, Belize, Honduras, and El Salvador. Nevertheless, even though it was divided, the Mayan civilization experienced several attempts to unify the Mayan people, one of which took place during the post-classic period. This was through the construction of the city of Mayapan, which, according to some translations, means the banner of the Mayan people. The purpose of this city was to unify and bring together the different Mayan states within a kind of federation. However, it failed to unite a large portion of the Mayan civilization, and ultimately ended in violence. And I don't even dare tell you how. Come on, you probably guessed. It was due to a revolt by a faction within its own federation, a deep division for this great people. That's why we can refer to the Maya civilization, but not as an empire. The Aztecs, whom we should actually call the Mexicas, simply because that's the name they gave themselves, are well known for their practices that seem bloodthirsty and sometimes downright cruel to us. As I read more, I had to admit that this image isn't exactly undeserved, which only fueled my curiosity about the subject. Why does this people with such a rich culture, capable of grand constructions and spectacular military victories, behave this way? What explains these violent and bloodthirsty practices? That's what I'm going to try to answer as usual by relying on the work of historians and anthropologists, whose references you can find in the description of this video. First of all, let's briefly recall that when the Spanish landed in Mexico, the Aztec Empire was young and had existed for less than a century. It was a recent empire with a culture strongly influenced by earlier ones. a bit like the Romans did in Europe, regularly drawing inspiration from other peoples. It should also be noted that the Mexica religion also shares many similarities with the religions practiced by other peoples of Central America. Sacrifices and similar rituals were already performed by the Maya and others. The main difference is the number and profile of sacrifices, as well as the practices surrounding the Mexica religion. The Mexica held mass sacrifices fueled by extensive prisoner hunts, or should we say of victims from the subjugated peoples or those unfortunate enough to be within their reach. The Mexica warriors had thus developed combat techniques whose goal was not to kill, but to capture as many prisoners as possible. This later backfired during battles with the Spaniards. Without delving into gruesome details, just enough to give you an idea of what was done, I will do my best to explain one of the forms of Mexica sacrifice. This sacrifice occurred atop a pyramid, where the victim was placed on a stone and their chest open with a flint knife. They would remove the heart and offer it to the sun, believed to need blood to continue its journey. Just from that, you sense a certain level, but it doesn't end there. The body was decapitated. Is that all? Is it over? No, not yet. The head and body were thrown from the pyramid's top, tumbling down the steps. At the bottom, body parts were cut up for later eating. This was truly cannibalism. Alone. The torso was then used to feed the animals, while the head was kept to be collected. They are the creators of the famous skull rack, or tzompantli, recently discovered. And you know what? All of this wasn't even meant to scare anyone. It was always part of their religion. That's right, the tzompantli were considered as skull trees, because in the Aztec underworld, just like in the Mayan one, there was indeed a tree connected to fertility, whose fruits were, you guessed it, skulls. Now you understand why they truly deserve that terrible reputation, don't you? How do people normalize such terrifying practices and carry them out on such a scale that they must constantly hunt for prisoners? There are various hypotheses, the problem being that Aztec sources are limited. It's an unfortunate consequence of the violent conquest of the Mexican Empire by the Spanish. They caused nearly all Aztec documents to disappear. Nevertheless, it would be underestimating historians, archaeologists, and other anthropologists to think that this would stop them from looking into the matter. By combining some hypotheses I've read, we can proceed cautiously. The first main source is religious. The sun had to be fed with blood in order to allow it to continue its course and thus delay the apocalypse as much as possible, while maintaining balance in the cosmos. The second is the political consequence. Hitzcoatl, ruler of Tenochtitlan, founded the Aztec Empire. Forgive me. The pronunciation officially recognized Huitzilopochtli as a manifestation of the sun god, thus imposing on the Aztecs the sacred duty of war, conquest, and sacrifice. As a result, the Mexican warriors became fanatical, making them formidable on the battlefield and particularly cruel. It also gave the future Aztec Empire steady income from plundering and conquest. There's a logic to all this, even if it seems terrible to us. If we had to answer the initial question, were the Aztecs cruel or zealous? The answer would probably be both. That's all for today. Feel free to subscribe for more stories and share if you enjoyed this video. On a more general note, did you know that D-Mystif history is about to celebrate its first anniversary? Yes, that's right. You can ask us questions on social media for up to a week after Sorcery's released. I'll gladly answer them in a video on June 18th. Now, I'll share my Mexica struggle moment. To finish, thank you all for your support. See you very soon. Subtitles by Officializa the God Huitzilopochtli. Officializa the God Huitzilopochtli is a manifestation of the sun god. Well, so? Officializa the God Huitzilopochtli as a manifestation of the sun god. Well then,